What the hell did you just say, boy? The billionaire's voice sliced through the summer air like a blade, sharp, cold, and full of venom. The boy didn't flinch. His feet were bare on the hot sidewalk. His shirt clung to his skinny chest, soaked in sweat and dust. But his eyes were ancient, still, unwavering. I said I can help her walk. For real, he repeated, nodding toward the girl in the wheelchair. People had already started slowing down. Phones came out. A man in an expensive suit yelling at a Blackstreet kid was juicy enough. But this was performance art. This was internet gold. The girl in the chair turned her head slowly. She was pale, impossibly thin, with auburn hair tied back in a low ponytail, and eyes the color of glass. Her name was Clara. Clara Malloy, 17, paralyzed from the waist down since the car crash that had killed her mother 3 years ago. Her father, Grant Malloy, tech mogul and self-made billionaire, had built half of Silicon Valley. He leaned down, his teeth clenched. "Is this some kind of game to you?" The boy looked up at him and blinked. "No, sir. It's not a game. I dream things. And when I do, sometimes they come true. Sometimes they fix people." Laughter burst out from someone nearby. Malloy turned, enraged, but the boy never looked away. "What's your name?" Clara asked suddenly, her voice soft but clear. He turned to her, eyes brightening. "Jemal. My name is Jemal." A pause, long and awkward. Malloy straightened and tugged his suit jacket down like he wanted to shake the conversation off his shoulders. "Get lost, kid." No, Jemal's voice was calm. "She's not going to walk tomorrow or next week. She's going to stand up right now." The world seemed to tilt. Even the wind paused. Malloy barked a short laugh, but Clara's breath caught in her chest. She looked down at her legs, then up at Jemal, then back at her father. "What if he's right?" she whispered. "Don't be ridiculous." "But what if?" Clara's voice was full of something Malloy hadn't heard in her for years, not since the accident, not since the therapists had all given up, not since he had buried her mother and buried his own heart next to her. It was hope. Jemal stepped forward. His hands were dirty, his shorts barely hanging onto his hips, but his fingers were gentle as he reached into a cloth satchel tied with string. He pulled out a small book, torn, yellowed pages, filled with symbols that looked like they were drawn by candlelight. "This came from my grandmother," he said. "She was from Alabama. She said we came from people who remembered the earth, and the body, and the pain it carries. She called it the root." Malloy rolled his eyes. "Voodoo garbage." "It's not voodoo," Jemal said evenly. "And it's not garbage." He knelt before Clara. The sun blazed above them. Cars slowed, people stopped. A security guard stepped out of a nearby shop and froze when he saw the scene. Jemal began to whisper soft, rhythmic words in a language no one around them knew. Clara's fingers twitched. She gasped. Malloy stepped forward. "What are you doing to her?" "Shut up," she snapped, her voice cutting like broken glass. Everyone fell silent. Jemal's voice grew louder, a chant now, strange and melodic. He reached forward and placed both hands lightly on her knees. Clara's eyes widened. Her legs, unfeeling, limp, alien, began to burn. And then they moved. Not much, just a tremble, just enough. A scream erupted from the crowd. The security guard dropped his radio. Jemal opened his eyes. "Stand." "No," Malloy said, voice trembling. "She can't." Clara looked at Jemal. He nodded. Her hands gripped the armrests. Her body trembled like a violin string under tension. And then, slowly, impossibly, she stood up. The crowd exploded. Shouts, clapping, screams. Phones pointed like weapons. Malloy stumbled backward as if struck. His lips moved, but no sound came out. "Do you believe me now?" Jemal asked, not cruelly, but with a quiet dignity that cut deeper than any insult. Clara stood fully now, tears cascading down her face. "You," Malloy's voice finally returned. "You did something. You drugged her. You're a fraud." "Then why is she walking?" someone from the crowd called out. Malloy spun. "You don't know this boy. You don't know what he is." "And you do?" Clara snapped. "You think money makes you know more about everything?" Silence again. Malloy looked around. His control was slipping. His perfect, polished world, a world where miracles didn't exist unless you could patent them, was cracking. Jemal turned to go. "Wait," Clara said. "Where are you going?" He looked back. "You're standing now? That's all I came for." Malloy stepped in front of him. "I can make you rich. Name your price." Jemal smiled sadly. You already tried to buy truth. Didn't work, did it? He stepped around the man, barefoot still, vanishing into the crowd as if the sidewalk itself swallowed him. And for the first time in his life, Grant Malloy had nothing to say. For the next 10 minutes, Grant Malloy just stood there, silent, his mouth slightly open, his daughter standing in front of him, still trembling, still shocked, but undeniably upright. People moved around them like ghosts. His ears rang. His mind raced, trying to rewrite the moment, explain it, control it. But the truth was simple. A barefoot black boy had walked up from nowhere, touched his daughter's knees, whispered words in a dead woman's tongue, and now Clara Malloy could walk. The cameras were still rolling. Already, the video had made it to the internet. Already, hashtags were forming. Jimal the healer walk miracle Clara stance. Malloy's PR team would have a coronary. But even they couldn't spin this. This wasn't a product launch. This wasn't optics. This was something bigger. Clara was the first to move. Her steps were shaky, uneven. She looked like a toddler learning to walk again. But she didn't fall. Her feet obeyed. Her knees held. Her spine straightened with every breath. Malloy reached out instinctively, and she pulled away. "I need to find him," she said, eyes darting through the crowd. "No," Malloy barked. "No, you don't." Clara froze. People turned. A few caught the tone in his voice, the tightness in his jaw. Control was slipping again. "I need to," she said slowly, firmly, like someone testing the limits of her own voice after years of swallowing it. "Clara, he's dangerous. You don't know what he did, or what this is. This could be temporary. It could hurt you. We need doctors. Tests. Scans. I've had tests, Dad. I've had years of tests." Her words cut deep, not because they were cruel, but because they were true. She turned from him. It was a kind of second miracle. First she walked, and now she walked away from him. He called after her, but she didn't turn back. She didn't even limp. Clara spent the next 3 hours searching for Jimal. She scoured alleyways, shelters, street corners, soup kitchens. She offered money more than she should have. She showed strangers the viral video, held out her phone like it was a holy relic. Everyone had seen him. No one knew where he'd gone. "Kid like that," one man told her. "He shows up when he wants, disappears when he don't. But he saved me. I bet he saves a lot of people, just not in the way they expect." As evening fell, Clara found herself in a part of the city she hadn't walked through in years. Literally. She passed abandoned warehouses, graffiti-covered walls, homes with boarded windows, and children playing in bare feet. Some stared. Some waved. One girl, maybe 6, ran up and touched her leg. "You were the girl who couldn't walk," she said. Clara nodded. "My grandma said he only helps the ones who still believe." "Believe in what?" The girl shrugged and skipped away. Clara sank down onto a cracked sidewalk and finally let herself cry. It wasn't just the walking. It wasn't even Jimal. It was the lies. The story her father had built around her like a fortress of pity. She would never walk. She would never run. She would never be whole. And so she'd accepted it. She'd learned to sit quietly, smile for the cameras, play the victim in his narrative. He used her pain to win sympathy, to humanize his brand, to show the world he was more than a cold-blooded mogul. But Jamal, he hadn't offered comfort. He hadn't offered apologies. He had simply seen her and believed in her body's potential. And now that potential terrified her. A voice cut through the dusk. "You shouldn't be out here alone." She turned quickly. A tall man, bearded, wearing a patchy coat and dragging a plastic bag of cans, stepped into the light. "I'm looking for someone," Clara said. "You and everyone else," he chuckled. "Let me guess. The miracle boy. You know him?" He squinted. "Everybody thinks they know him. I've seen him twice. Once when my brother was dying. Kid came in, sat with him. Never touched him. Just talked. My brother stopped screaming that night. Slept like a baby until he passed. That was a gift." Clara whispered. "I think he gave me more than a gift." The man studied her, eyes narrowing. "He chose you then. Why? No one knows. Maybe you needed it. Maybe he needed you. Sometimes the truth goes both ways." She stood again, legs still trembling but holding firm. "If you see him," she said, "tell him Clara Malloy is looking for him." The man smiled. "I'll tell the wind. It'll know where to carry it." Back at the Malloy estate, things were less poetic. Grant Malloy had locked himself in his study, pacing furiously, yelling into multiple phones. His face was flushed. his eyes wild. I want the boy found, he snapped. Now? I don't care how. Buy off every shelter, every camera, every goddamn street preacher if you have to. Sir, his head of security cut in, we already tried. No one's seen him since the incident. He's a ghost. Then track the video. Someone posted it first. We did. The first upload came from a burner phone, public Wi-Fi, no trace. Malloy cursed, slamming his fist onto his antique desk. This is a scam. It has to be. Sir, your daughter can walk. She can think she can walk. That's not the same. The room went silent. Across the house, Clara slipped in through the kitchen door, unnoticed. She climbed the stairs, barefoot, relishing the strange, alien feeling of her legs working beneath her. The ache, the soreness, even the pain felt like a blessing. She passed her old wheelchair in the hallway. It sat there like a forgotten trophy from a lost war. She didn't touch it. Instead, she went to her room, opened her laptop, and pulled up the video again. Jimal, barefoot, calm, brave. He hadn't asked her for anything. Not money, not fame, not even thanks. What kind of world spits on someone like that? She thought. A knock came at her door. It was her father. Clara, he said, not stepping in. We need to talk. She didn't answer right away. You used me, she finally said. I protected you. No, Dad. You caged me. You were safe. I was invisible. The pause between them was longer this time. Her voice shook, but she stood her ground. He finally stepped inside. His eyes scanned her body, almost disbelieving that she was standing there, arguing with him at eye level for the first time in years. I don't understand what happened out there, he said. But we need to control it. Before the press turns this into something ugly. You mean before you look bad? His face twitched. I want to find him, she said. I want to help him. You don't owe him anything. You're right. I owe him everything. He looked exhausted now, like the weight of his empire had finally settled onto his shoulders. Just promise me you'll be careful. Clara tilted her head. Like you were. He had no answer. Down the street, somewhere under the neon signs of a late-night corner store, Jimal leaned against a wall and watched his own name scroll across the bottom of a convenience store TV. A newscaster was calling him the miracle boy. There was a blurry photo of him beside the word savior. He sighed. A homeless woman beside him said, They're gonna hunt you now, you know. I know. Why help her then? He watched the screen flicker. Because her spirit was louder than her silence. The woman chuckled. That's the kind of talk that gets you killed. Jimal looked up at the stars, dim behind city lights. Or the kind that makes the world listen. The next morning, Clara woke before dawn. Her legs ached like hell, but she smiled through it. Pain was proof. She had walked. She could walk again. The internet had erupted overnight. The video had gone viral on multiple platforms. News outlets were scrambling for interviews. Clara's name was trending globally. But more than that, Jimal's name was being whispered in every corner of the digital world. Photos of him were being pulled from the video, enhanced, dissected, theorized. Some called him an angel, others a fraud. Some said it was staged by Clara and her father. Conspiracy channels speculated that Jimal was part of a new underground cult. But to Clara, none of it mattered. She knew what she'd felt. She'd felt the heat in her bones, the whisper in her blood, the moment her nerves remembered themselves. He had done it. He had known. And now he was gone. She pulled on a hoodie and jeans, the first time in years she'd worn pants that weren't specially tailored for sitting. Her balance was shaky, but she didn't care. Every time she stumbled, she just laughed. Downstairs, she found her father already in the kitchen. The chef was gone. The house was quieter now, staff sent home for privacy. He looked up when she entered, coffee in one hand, tablet in the other. They're calling it the new American miracle, he said without greeting. We've had interview requests from NBC, CNN, BBC, and Vice. You're international now. Clara walked past him and poured her own cup. I'm not doing interviews. He blinked. What? I'm not letting anyone turn him into a spectacle. He already is one. You think hiding helps. I think respecting him does. Malloy sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. You don't understand the stakes, Clara. This isn't just about you anymore. This is about how the world sees username. Our company, our control, she said, cutting him off. That's what you're really afraid of, right? That something happened outside of your reach. He stared at her. For a moment, the mask dropped. Yes, he said. Exactly that. Silence settled. Clara left the room without another word. The city had changed overnight. Billboards now featured headlines. Murals were already being painted downtown with Gemel's likeness. Some were saintly, others revolutionary. One wall simply read, in huge bold spray paint, "Believe black boys." She took a subway and walked through the alleys he'd vanished into. Asked questions, followed rumors. A woman outside a laundromat told her he'd been seen with a group of runaway teens on the east side. A food truck vendor said he'd given away every dollar someone had tried to force on him. A boy in a skateboard helmet told her he once saw Gemel put his hands on a dying dog and the dog had stood up and run. "Do you know where he is now?" she asked him. The boy shook his head. "He's not aware. He's a when. He shows up when people stop lying to themselves." Clara kept walking. Meanwhile, in a sleek downtown boardroom on the 40th floor of Malloy Technologies, a different kind of search was underway. Grant Malloy sat with his legal team, security consultants, and a digital forensics contractor flown in from New York. "This boy," said the lead investigator, "has no official record. No school enrollment, no foster care file, no birth certificate under that name. If Gemel is his real name, he's invisible. And I don't mean off-grid, I mean deliberately scrubbed." "Scrubbed by who?" Malloy asked. The man shrugged. "Someone who knows how to disappear. Then find someone who knows how to find him." The lawyer beside him cleared her throat. "There's also the issue of your daughter's statement." "What about it?" "She's posting on social media. She's using her accounts to share street stories, supporting protest movements, linking your company to exploitative urban development. The press has already latched onto the idea that she's rebelling." "She is rebelling," Malloy snapped. "Maybe that's not the worst thing," someone offered quietly. Malloy shot them a look sharp enough to silence a room. Outside, Clara sat on the curb beside an old mechanic's garage, watching the clouds shift above the skyline. She was exhausted. Her muscles ached from the effort of walking, from moving through the world on her own 2 feet, but it was a beautiful exhaustion. A shadow passed beside her. She turned. Gemel stood at the end of the alley, a bag slung over his shoulder, his feet still bare, but his posture proud. "Hey," she breathed, standing quickly, almost falling. He walked toward her, slow and steady. "I've been looking everywhere," she said. "I know. Where have you been?" He smiled faintly. "Watching. Why did you help me?" "Because your soul was louder than your silence." She swallowed, that phrase hitting harder the second time. "People are trying to find you. They want to make you a god. Or a criminal. They always do. Why can you do what you do?" He sat down on the sidewalk beside her. "My grandmother taught me. It's not magic. That book, The Symbols, was that a religion?" He shook his head. "It was a language. One meant to hold pain long enough to turn it into truth." Clara sat in silence, letting the meaning settle. "They're going to come after you," she said. "I know. You need help." "No," he looked at her. "You do." She blinked. "What?" "You've been trapped in more ways than your legs. You believed what the world told you, that you were broken, that you were weak. You thought healing was impossible. And now you're a threat." "To who?" "To the people who profited off your pain." Clara looked away, tears forming. "Do you want to run?" she asked. "No, but I will walk away, like I always do." "Don't." He smiled. "I already gave you something more powerful than anything I could carry. You can walk. You can speak. You can fight. Then stay and fight with me." "I'm not the sword," he said. "You are." She reached for his hand. For a moment, he let her hold it. And then he stood. The city lights blinked on. Somewhere, a police scanner clicked to life. They were coming. "Go," he said. "I'm not leaving you. You have to. Because if they catch me, they'll bury the story. But if you walk into that press room, right now, and tell the truth, they'll have to listen." Her breath caught. "You're sacrificing yourself." "No, I'm choosing truth." And with that, he turned the corner and was gone. Again, Clara stood there a long time. Then she wiped her face, stood tall, and turned toward the city's center. It was time to make the world listen. The press conference was hastily arranged, but that didn't stop it from overflowing. News crews from around the globe packed the auditorium. Security buzzed with tension. Every major outlet was there expecting a polished PR moment, a pre-written speech, maybe even a carefully edited video montage. What they got instead was Clara Malloy stepping alone onto the stage. No podium, no father, No prepared notes. She walked with intention, stronger than she had been hours before. The bruises on her muscles had already begun to fade. Her pain was real, but it gave her purpose. The silence in the room was absolute. Dozens of cameras pointed at her like weapons. She stood in the middle of it all, breathing. And then she spoke. I wasn't supposed to walk again. That's what every doctor said. That's what every test showed. That's what my father believed. And for a long time, I believed it too. Until someone told me I didn't have to. Her voice was clear. Not loud, but commanding. His name is Jimal. He's a boy. He's black. He's barefoot. He has no money. No protection. No last name anyone seems to know. But he gave me back something none of you could, myself. A buzz of murmurs rippled across the room. Journalists exchanged glances. My father wants you to think this was a trick. That Jimal is a liar, or a scam, or some mystical anomaly who will vanish into a headline and disappear. But I'm here to tell you something much harder to hear. He's real, and everything you've been taught to ignore, he carries it with him. She paused, took a breath. I was born into money, into power, and I never once questioned why voices like his were missing from the rooms I grew up in. Why miracles that didn't come with medical bills were dismissed as coincidence. Why every person who looked like him was either pitied or feared. And now I can't unsee it. Camera shutters snapped like insects in a storm. I won't let his gift become a rumor. I won't let him vanish just because the world is uncomfortable with a barefoot black boy being stronger than the billionaire. Reporters gasped. A few even clapped. The boldness of her words ignited something they hadn't expected. My name is Clara Malloy, and I believe in Jimal. Not because he gave me back my legs, but because he never asked me to be anyone else but me. And now, it's your turn to listen. She stepped down, and the world exploded. Within minutes, every network was broadcasting her speech. On social media, clips of her walking off the stage became symbols of resistance, of truth, of something ancient cracking through the polished lies of modern life. And suddenly, the narrative shifted. Jimal was no longer a question. He was a movement. But Grant Malloy wasn't finished. He sat in his office that night, hands trembling over a document. It was a petition for a court order. If he signed it, he could claim Clara was mentally unwell, manipulated by a stranger, exploited while vulnerable. He could control her again. The pen hovered. Then he saw something across his desk, a photo of Clara as a child, standing on a beach, smiling up at her mother. He set the pen down, tore the papers in half, and wept for the first time in 15 years. Weeks passed, then months. The world did what it always does, it tried to twist the truth, bury it in noise. Debates exploded. Faith leaders weighed in. Scientists called for rational explanation. Malloy Technologies scrambled to shift public opinion. But Jimal never reappeared. He had become legend. And yet, his name echoed through cities, towns, protests, classrooms. Murals of his face appeared on school walls. Street artists painted his words on buildings. The body remembers. The land heals. Truth is louder than money. Clara didn't stop speaking. She turned down talk shows, refused to sign book deals. Instead, she used her name and resources to create a fund not for research, but for recognition. It funded grassroots healers, community organizers, forgotten traditions. It brought light to those the world had chosen not to see. She started walking through neighborhoods her family had only ever driven past. Listening, learning, changing. One day, she stood in front of a high school class on the south side. She wore jeans, her hair tied back, sneakers scuffed. A girl raised her hand. Did it hurt? She asked. Clara smiled. Healing always does. Where is he now? The girl asked. I don't know, Clara said. But I think he's exactly where he needs to be. And somewhere, far from cameras and microphones, in a town without a name, a barefoot boy sat beneath a tree older than memory. Children gathered around him. In his hands, he held the same tattered notebook, pages filled with symbols that glowed when touched by belief. He wasn't looking to be found. He was waiting for the next soul who had forgotten they were whole. And when they arrived, he would rise. And he would walk again. Not to prove, not to save, but to remind them that not every miracle asks for applause. Some only ask that you believe. The end. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.